This species was nearly extinct 125 years ago. Just 5 small herds was all that remained, less than 1,000 individual animals. Now you can commonly find their meat in grocery stores. But don't be fooled, these bison are wild animals. We have a herd of fallow deer pretty close to the road on the other side of the truck. This is another herd that's just does, like the elk. The fallow deer have those beautiful spots on their bodies. Lots of people think that they look like just baby whitetails, but they are a totally separate species. Fallow deer are native to Europe, specifically Turkey.
Ay, de tu lado. De su lado. Ese está cagando.
You'll notice all of the bison or buffalo, you can interchange the words. They all have horns, both the males and the females. If a bison's horn were to break off, it would not grow back. We got a couple of llamas over here. A few more down by the road. The llama is the first domesticated animal we'll see on our tour today. When used as a pack animal, they can handle about 100 pounds of weight across their back. They have soft pads on the bottoms of their hooves. They also produce wool. They do need to be sheared every so often. There's a few more fallow deer over here. Fallow deer are more or less found worldwide. That's so hunters can have access to their beautiful pelts. You can also see one is basically all white. She's not an albino, but that's about as close to albino as you can get. She is a leucistic deer. Leucistic animals actually produce pigments in their eyes. So an albino animal will have red eyes. Leucistic animals like that deer actually have blue eyes. You're going to see lots of Canada geese on our tour today. This time of year they are actually moving around, some of them migrate a little bit, but a lot of them are resident Great Adventure Canada geese. There's not really much we can do about them. They pretty much hang out in any area that does not house a carnivore. This area that we're coming up on now is where the rhea, the female, will come over here and dig a nest into the ground and lay up to 20 eggs in a season. After she lays all her eggs, she more or less abandons the nest, and a male rhea will come and take over and incubate all the eggs. That is a bunch of male rheas sitting on one single egg. About 2 weeks ago, I saw that a female had laid an egg in one of her little nests. And then the very next weekend, those guys have just been sitting there ever since, just guarding that egg. Those birds won't move. They'll sit there for a whole 6.5 weeks, 45 days, until the egg hatches. We are now in our Africa section. 5 out of the next 6 parts of our tour are going to feature animals from the continent of Africa. This first section houses some of our largest, some of our water-dependent animals. We're going to meet the biggest one in the world right over here on the left after this hill. African bush elephants stand at 12 feet tall and can weigh up to 7 tons. A young male elephant's tusk can be up to 8 feet long. They're actually considered part of their mouth. They are teeth, an elephant's tusks. They are incisor teeth. And they only get 1 pair of those their entire lives. Elephants have prehensile trunks. There's over 100,000 muscles in an elephant's trunk. They're delicate enough to pick up something as small as a peanut off the floor. As you can obviously see, we have some guests throwing them some peanuts. Is any elongation of their nose and their upper lip. They use them a lot like we use our hands. As you can see, we have to set up some umbrellas for the elephants to get some shade. Elephants and trees don't mix. Elephants are like the big bulldozers of the savannah, so if we did plant any trees for them, they more or less would just knock them down and eat all the leaves off of them. Get a good look at a couple of white rhinoceroses right here. Rhinos can actually stylize their horns. They can shape them up against boulders and rocks. And they say that's how each individual rhino tells each other apart. A herd of rhinos is called a crash. That's because rhinos have really poor eyesight. They're always bumping into one another and other things. You got a good look at some ostriches over here. These are some big birds. An ostrich can stand up to 9 feet tall. Just for some perspective on that, these gates, the top of the gate is about 8 feet off of the road. So an ostrich's head will stick up over that. They are so big. They weigh about 300 pounds. They are the fastest animal on 2 legs. They've been clocked at speeds of over 45 miles an hour. These are water buffalo. They look a lot like cows, like domestic cattle, but these are another wild animal like the bison that we saw in the American plains. Occasionally they are found on farms, generally raised to harvest their hides. They make a very high quality leather, and also to harvest their milk. Their milk is referred to as liquid butter, it's so creamy. This is our herd of zebras. Some people call zebra herds dazzles. There is a little baby zebra. Yeah, he's with this group right here. He's on the other side of the feeder, but his head is down in the grass. That little guy there, he's about 3 months old. He was born, I think, end of June. Little baby zebras can get up and run 15 minutes after they're born. Now, it looks a lot like zebras are white with black stripes, but Great Adventure insists on having me tell you that they are actually black with white stripes. Not just because you would think that you'd look at the hair on their belly and the hair on their rear end, and that's mostly white, but that's not where you determine the base coat color. It's actually from the hair around their muzzle and the hair around their ankles. And on a zebra, that's actually black. So here at Great Adventure, we tell everybody that zebras are actually black with white stripes. This is the wild plains. We're going to start talking about different kinds of antelopes and other sorts of hoof stock from Africa. Also, our smallest animal of the tour is housed in this particular section. As we come around the curve, there's an ostrich sitting in the corner over here. She is sitting on a nest of eggs right now. Ostriches lay the largest egg in the world. It's about the size of a grapefruit and weighs around 3 pounds. Later on in the day, a male ostrich will come over and take over the incubating of the eggs. The rhea that we saw earlier, the female has no part in incubating. The ostriches, they will switch off and take turns. There's a couple of small antelopes, one on either side of the road. Those are called black bucks. The black buck is actually an Asian species of antelope. And then the smallest animal on our tour is over there on the left. You'll see the blue colorings of one of our peacocks. Peacocks are actually native to India. They can be found flying from zone to zone occasionally, but they're usually hanging out over here in the wild plains. Back along the fence is an antelope known as the Beza oryx. O-R-Y-X is how you spell oryx. Oryx species are antelopes that live in the desert. They have a highly specialized metabolism that allows them to go months, even years sometimes, without ingesting any water. As long as they keep eating green vegetation, they'll stay hydrated more or less. These are gnus, G-N-U. These are blue wildebeests. The wildebeest is basically the exact opposite of the oryx. They are heavily dependent on water, so much so that they migrate hundreds of miles every single year in search of more food and water, leading the way in what is known as the Great Migration. Literally millions of animals in search of food and water. This is a herd of waterbucks over here. As their name implies, the ellipses waterbuck spends a lot of their time in or near the water. This is a herd of does right here. The females will congregate in herds of 1 to 2 dozen, so about this size, and the males will join the herds during certain times of year. Back along the fence there, that antelope is called the bongo. That is the largest forest-dwelling antelope in all of Africa. Up ahead, we have some giraffic. Just a quick reminder, we are not allowed to reach out and touch any of the giraffes. The giraffes sometimes get a little close. As you can see, they're in the middle of the road. They might turn around and give us a quick look. They can touch us, we can't touch them. So please just keep that in mind. Get some great pictures though, hopefully. These are the tallest animals on Earth, standing at up to 18 feet tall. Some of them are even bigger, I think. The horns on their head are called ossicones. A giraffe's tongue is 18 inches long and it's prehensile. A giraffe's neck is 7 feet long. You would think there would be dozens, maybe even hundreds of bones in a giraffe's neck, but there's just 7 oversized vertebrae. That's the same amount as a human being. Their legs are 6 feet long. Over here on the left, these are red and collie cattle. This is an actual domesticated cow. These animals were actually traded as currency by the people who originally domesticated them. East Africa somewhere. Their horns are about 5 feet long. They do produce a high quality milk. There are some deer over there. Those are fallow deer, just like the ones that we saw in the American plains. The ones over in the American plains were leucistic. Some of these deer over here have more of a melanistic quality to them. There's a little baby giraffe over here. I'll tell you exactly what it's doing over there. It's licking all the pollen off of the fence. Or it's just eating the rest of the leaves off the branches that they left over there for it earlier. But usually those giraffes are licking the fence. Sometimes they'll lick the canopies of these things. This is our brand new glamping resort. You can now spend a minimum of 2 nights, please. 2 nights in the safari. This is Savannah Sunset is what we call it. These cabins, tents, yurts, whatever you want to call them. Fully electrified, sleep 2 to 6 people. They got their own running water, bathrooms, toilets, showers, all that good stuff. I don't know if it's going to be open past October. We're in the Serengeti grasslands now. We're going to talk about a couple more antelopes, and then I'm going to introduce you to the first carnivore on our tour. This is the addax. There's a few more addax up ahead on the right underneath these trees here. The addax is a critically endangered antelope. Found in the deserts of northern and eastern Africa. Or at least they used to be. The addax has a lot in common with the oryx that we saw back in the wild plains. And there was actually another oryx over there back by the giraffes. There was another antelope. Those were scimitar oryx. They have a lot of the same traits as well. Whereas their metabolism allows them to skip visiting the watering holes. And as long as they eat lots of green vegetation, they'll stay hydrated. Some people think these are the sources to unicorn myths, especially if an addax's horn were to break off. These are some more news. GNU. These are white-tailed gnus, or black wildebeests. The blue wildebeest is a very migratory animal. The black wildebeest is a little bit more on the territorial side. The black wildebeest was actually more or less hunted to extinction at the turn of the 20th century. The only ones left were a couple that were living on some farms and ranches. 2 entrepreneurial farmers actually each had a herd, and those were the only ones left in the world. Those farmers were somehow compelled to help repatriate these animals to the territories where they were overhunted. And now they are considered a bit of a success story. They are listed as least concern on the red list. Queensland is next. The African lion is the only social big cat species. They live in groups known as prides. A lion's pride will typically consist of an alpha male. His favorite females, maybe some of the females' brothers if it's a big pride, and all the alpha females' pets. Tell the difference between a male and a female lion. Only the male will grow a lion's mane. The mane doesn't start growing until the lion's about a year to year and a half old. And it takes them about 3 to 3.5 years to finish filling in. When it starts growing, it's the same tan color as the rest of the fur on their body. And as they get older, more and more dark brown fur will patch and fill its way in. Lions sleep a lot. Males up to 20 hours a day. Females a little less, anywhere from 15 to 18 usually. They sleep so much because relative to other big animals their size, they have pretty small hearts. That also limits their ability to hunt. They don't have much in terms of stamina. They have been clocked at speeds of up to 40 miles an hour, but it's almost impossible for them to maintain that speed. Therefore, lion hunts are notoriously inefficient. They're only successful about 1 in 4 opportunities in the wild. An alpha male lion usually needs about 10 to 15 pounds of meat in a day to survive. If it's been a few days in between meals because of inefficient hunting, male lions have been observed gorging themselves on 40 plus pounds in a sitting. There's another couple of antelopes. There's a couple in the grass and a couple standing up. Those are sable antelopes. Sables are another horse lake antelope. They top out between 400 and 500 pounds usually. They live on the fringes of the forest and the savanna. Those are some North African mountain goats called Barbary sheep. That's an all bachelor herd there. We'll meet a mixed herd later.
Un oso. Un oso.
That was 4 whole sections of animals from Africa. We have made our way all the way back to North America, and in fact, this is the only animal on our tour today that you can actually see in the woods of New Jersey. The North American black bear is the most commonly found, the most widely distributed, and also the smallest of the North American bears. The males can weigh anywhere between 200 and 500 pounds usually. Larger individuals do occasionally occur. A 600 to 700 pound black bear male isn't completely an absurd idea. The females are typically a bit smaller. These bears also don't exclusively just come in the color black. The further out west you go, the more likely you are to run into one of the color variants, a darker light brown, cinnamon blonde. Even white black bears have occurred on the west coast. Everybody knows you don't want to get in between mama bear and her cubs, right? Well, the same rule applies for bears. We don't want to let any of these bears get in between mama bear and her cubs. So when we do get new additions to our bear family, we set up these little nursery zones. So currently we have 2 mama bears in here, and they each have 2 cubs, and they all seem to get along pretty well right now. Looks like most of them are up in the den, except for that one mama bear. She's got one of her cubs behind her. We set up the nursery zones in the black bear areas with trees for the cubs to climb. Black bears specifically, are excellent tree climbers. They have compact bodies compared to other bear species and sharp curved claws. They can shimmy their way up a tree, no problem. Full-grown males are less inclined to do that, but younger bears definitely love climbing up into the trees. Depending on the time of year and where the bear is living, they'll eat more or less anything. Seeds, nuts, berries, fish, meat, livestock, insects, all on the menu for a black bear. We're heading back into the wild plains. This is downhill from the resort zone. So no, those are not white-tailed deer. Those are not more of New Jersey's animals. I told you the black bear was the only one. This is an East African antelope known as the red lechwe. These females, though, they look a lot like deer. One of the main differences is their front limbs are about a foot shorter than their hind limbs. That in combination with their elongated hooves allows them to run for long distances through swampy areas. The other main difference between these animals and New Jersey's deer is the horns that the males will grow. They grow those leer-shaped horns. There was a species up on top of the hill in the wild plains, the ellipsis waterbuck. The males grow very similar horns in that species as well. These larger antelopes that you see up here are elands. They are the common eland, E-L-A-N-D. We're going to get to drive right by our alpha male eland. He's laying over here chewing on his cud. A large eland can top out at around 2,000 pounds. These guys can only run at a top speed of about 25 miles an hour. That's considered slow for antelopes. It's still a 1,500 pound animal. That's still pretty crazy. When they're spooked, they can jump 8 feet in the air from a standstill. We're going to check out some more bears now. These are Eurasian brown bears next. So about 100 pounds less than a grizzly, but still a good 150, 200 pounds bigger than a black bear. The biggest males in this zone will be around 650 pounds or so. These are much larger animals. You notice the differences almost immediately. Their limbs are longer, their body length is longer and wider. Even their heads and their muzzles are visibly larger. Being a bigger animal, they require a little bit more protein in their diet than the black bear does. These animals are more inclined to hunt. It's a little brown bear cub hanging out over there. This is another brown bear nursery area right here. There's another mama and her cub in that zone. Brown bear cubs will stay with their mothers anywhere from 2 to 5 years, depending on the situation. So that cub's been in there for nearly 2 years now. Lots of different social cues these bears need to pick up on and learn. Bears famously hibernate during the winter months. They will fatten themselves up in the fall and then find a den to go hibernate in. Wow. That's due to a lack of resources during the winter months. The bears in the Great Adventure don't have a lack of resources during the winter months. So the bears here don't hibernate. They could if they wanted to, but there's just really no need. We feed all the animals here year-round. Even the elephants are here year-round. You get a good look at, maybe you can see their paws. They have 4-inch long claws on their paws. They're not really good for climbing either. These bears are more of a digger. This is our last bear nursery over here. This little cub is 9 months old or so now. Hibernating bears don't wake up for anything, not for a snack, not for a drink or to use the restroom, but they will wake up if it's female and it's pregnant and goes into labor. Bears will give birth during the winter months, specifically while they're hibernating. After Mama Bear gives birth, she cleans up her cub a little and goes right back to sleep. The bear cub then has to find the milk source all on its own, and it pretty much nurses all throughout the rest of the winter until the thaw comes and it's time to leave the den. This is our conservation zone next. Surrounding Great Adventure is state-run wildlife management areas. The Great Adventure Conservation Zone takes that even a step further. Nobody has stepped foot off of this road in the last 50 years or so. So with woods like these, you'll find animals such as, but not limited to, white-tailed deer, red fox, raccoons, skunks, possums, coyotes, turkeys, bears. I've seen all sorts of different snakes up and down this road in the conservation zone. Plenty of different birds as well. White egrets, blue herons, cormorants, mute swans. And that was Great Adventure's version of a 20-hour flight to Australia. Welcome to Didgeridoo Pass. There are no snakes or turtles on display in this zone. I'm sure if any of New Jersey's native snakes made it over here, the emus would make short work of them. That's what I'll talk about first. It's the emu. There's a couple along the fence over here looking out into the conservation area. A big emu weighs about 100 pounds. That's good enough for the third largest bird in the world. These birds, like the rhea and the ostrich, are occasionally found on farms raised for their meat and their eggs. Like the rhea, only the males incubate the eggs when they're nesting. The color of a rhea's egg is actually similar to the color around their eyes. It's impossible to tell the difference between a male and a female emu just by looking at them. You have to somehow make them vocalize. They make different noises. The largest marsupial in the world is the red kangaroo. Marsupials are animals that give birth to a highly overdeveloped offspring. And then the young has to develop furthermore in a pouch outside the mother's body. So a male red kangaroo stands at around 6 feet tall. The females are quite a bit smaller and don't get a rusty red colored coat. When kangaroos are on their hind legs, they have to hop. They can't physically take one step in front of the other or hop backwards. All their momentum is moving forward at all times. That's because their hip bones and their thigh bones are all fused together as one solid unit. Because of that, if they were to use their front paws, or when they're using their front paws to help propel themselves, they actually have to use their tail as a fifth leg and swing their hind legs through like they're walking on crutches. As you can see, the kangaroos can just kind of lounge around and watch the Canada geese eat their food. Out on the outback, kangaroos are grazers. Here's Ricky guarding the gate over here, leading us into the tiger area. There is a Bengal tiger over here. She's in this back corner in the shade. You may have noticed that she does not have the traditional orange fur and black stripe. She has more of a butterscotch colored fur and more of a brownish colored stripe. Bengal tigers come in a couple of different variants. That particular variant is known as golden tabby. Lots of people think that Siberian tigers are subspecies that come in white and black, but only Bengal tigers come in any sort of variant. Every Siberian tiger will always be orange and black. All the rest of the tigers on our tour are Siberian tigers. These are the biggest of the big cats. Wow. Tigers in the wild usually live solitary lives. We have 5 tigers in this one habitat here. They have all been bonded together. They are all litter mates, actually. They were born 2 years ago. As I said, these are the biggest of the big. They can weigh up to 600 pounds with a total body length of up to 13 feet. That's nose to the tip of the tail. Tigers are an apex predator in every single way. They can reach a top speed of 45 miles an hour and maintain it for a little bit too. They are excellent at climbing in trees and ambushing from above. They're also very good swimmers. They have partially wet paws and have no fear of getting us so wet. We are on the road to Baboon Village. We're going to check out a couple more herds and then we'll take a look at the infamous baboons. So, first up, I gotta get examples of everybody who are all in one area. So the large antelope is one that we actually have not seen at all yet. The large antelope that you see in this zone is called nilgai, Nilgai. These are the most commonly found wild animal in their home range in northern India and Pakistan. Their population has flourished in recent decades due to the decline in the Bengal tiger population, their natural predator. These little guys in the road, these are some young black bucks. Only a male black buck will grow spirally horns. The females also stay that fawn color their whole lives. Males, on the other hand, their coat will turn into a dark brown and eventually into a black, hence the name black buck. They're the smallest antelopes here in Great Adventure. They're probably also the fastest. They've been clocked at speeds of up to 50 miles an hour. You may have noticed some more mountain goats over here, some more Barbary sheep. The females have much skinnier horns than the males do. We're on the road to the infamous Baboon Village. This used to be a drive-through experience. You would bring your own car through here. The baboons were out in the middle of the road, like all the rest of the animals. I mean, way back in the day when they first opened the park, the black bears were in the middle of the road. The Bengal tigers were out on the road. We got Bob and Catherine over here.
Yo todo.
So yeah, Bob and Catherine were supposed to get behind you when you rear your own car through. A baboon would hop up on the hood of your car. You'd be like, wow, this is awesome. And then the baboon would show you his teeth and you'd be like, am I in trouble here? And then hopefully the rest of your car stayed intact because they could start peeling off anything that was loose. Now that we're in these open air trucks, things are a little different these days. These are the olive baboon right here. Males and females grow to be about the same height, but the males will outweigh the females 2 to 1. A big male will weigh around 70 pounds. Big females, 30 to 35. Only the females get those bright pink features on their backside. That doesn't happen to the males. They say the brighter and pinker it is, the more ready she is to make some more olive baboons. These baboons can be found in 25 different countries all across Africa. They're usually considered to be a savanna baboon, but they do well in any environment you put them in. Mountainside, shoreline, forest. This is another opportunistic omnivore species. So meat, vegetables, insects, seeds, nuts. Even in areas where they live near human populations, they're considered to be a bit of a crop raider species. In the wild, they live in groups known as troops. A troop of baboons will have anywhere between 15 and 150 members. The female baboons will stay with the same troop their whole lives, while male baboons will trade family groups every 4 or 5 years or so, making friends with the females in the new group.
Se le ve el cuco ese.
Get a good look at El Toro taking its first terrifying drop.
Manita. Está bien.
We're coming around this curve here. I got one animal left to get on. Over on that hill up there, you'll see a couple of yaks. The yak technically is the closest living relative to the American bison. There is still a small wild population of these animals left in northern Asia, but they are thoroughly domesticated, found on farms and ranches all over the continent of Asia. Raised for the usual animals as beast of burden, also for their meat, milk, hide, hair, and cheese. And that's it for the tour, everybody. Make sure you wave by the bottom on the way out. Thank you so much for coming out, taking the tour with me today. I know my brother got all the animals out there. Hope you got some great pictures of them. And when you're going through the pictures later, I hope you remember the names of all the animals that you took pictures of. As we make our way back to base camp station, please remain seated and buckled in until the gate comes down. When the gate comes down, the people in the back 3 rows, there's a straight shot off the truck. For the people in the front 3 rows with me, you just kind of make your way over to the right-hand side.